This episode of Juicy Scoop is brought to you by Booking.com, Booking.yeah. Every time we use Booking.com to find a place to stay in the U.S., I know they will have exactly what I'm looking for. They have a huge variety of options from hotels to vacation rentals, and I'm always able to find something that fits my specific needs. I found that Booking.com has something for everyone. No matter who you are, Booking.com helps you find the stay that's ridiculously right for you. Find exactly what you're booking for on Booking.com, Booking.yeah.
Heather McDonald has got the juiciest scoop. When you're on the road, when you're on the go, Juicy Scoop is the show to know. She talks Hollywood tales, her real life Mr. Segment serial data, and serial sister. You'll be addicted and addicted fast to the #1 tabloid real life podcast. Listen in, listen up. Woo, woo. Heather McDonald, Juicy Scoop.
Hello and welcome to Juicy Scoop. I return favorite. He is an expert in so many things. Zack Peter, welcome back to Juicy Scoop, host of No Filter with Zack Peter. Is it just Zack or is it No
Zack
Filter?
Peter.
It's a No Filter with your full name.
Yes.
Just like Juicy Scoop with Heather McDonald.
But on Instagram, it's just at No Filter with Zack. Because it was too long. But yes, the full show is No Filter with Zack Peter.
Yes. So we are going to get into a lot of things.
Yes.
You were, I had Nick on Thursday. We got into Blake and Justin, and he was clearly team Blake and Ryan. And a lot of people were like, you need to get Zack back on. And so there are some things that have come up in the last couple weeks. So we're going to catch up on that. But we're going to start the show off with some interesting Housewife breaking news, since you're an expert in that as well. So, Tamra Judge of Real Housewife OC announced via her Instagram that she has quit Real Housewives of OC. I saw over the weekend people in New Orleans had seen them filming Real Housewives of OC. There was photos of Gretchen, Shannon, Gina, Emily, who else? I saw Heather Dubrow in the photos.
Katie was there.
Tamra, Katie.
Gina, all of them.
So all of them. No, there's no new people.
I don't think so.
And so I was like, oh, that's cool. They're in New Orleans, they're filming. And then this popped up. And then Andy just kind of was like, I can't speak on it on his radio show. And, her best friend, one of her best friends, Teddy, is, going through incredible medical situation with her cancer. And so it sounds like maybe that's what she's saying. It's like, what am I doing filming this show?
Yeah.
Bullshitting about something when my friend is like, going through the hardest thing in her life. So what do you think?
It's very Meredith Marks, right? When they're fighting and she's in the hot seat and then suddenly all the women are grilling her and she's just like, the children of the world. And she goes to something. I think that's what's happening here. She's probably in the hot seat. Gretchen came back and Gretchen made there's no speculation that Gretchen was going to come back and put her in the hot seat. Like, Gretchen was ready for her, and she says Tamra's been terrible for years, and, it was time to hold her accountable. So I think Tamra's probably taken the heat this season, and then she just had this moment of, like, there are real problems in the world, and other people are dealing with things, and my friend Teddy is going through a really serious situation, and and she doesn't want to take the heat, and I think she's probably quitting, and she's using Teddy's diagnosis and her struggle, as an out.
Okay, well, I think a couple things can be true at the same time.
Yeah.
So we all remember the famous scene when she went running on some other girl's trip and took off her heels and went running. And she's, athletic little girl. So she was running pretty good. And it was, you'll never see my face again. And so this is what I think. This is just a prediction of mine. I think if there was one particular conversation on the show, fight, conversation, confrontation, that led her to go, I'm out, I think that possibly at one point Gretchen may have brought up to Tamra how critical Tamra was of Slade being a father to his now deceased son, but who was critical I don't know the diagnosis, but he had 2 sons.
Right.
One was the older one that we saw on the show with Joe that like played the guitar. And then there was a younger one that we saw on the show back then that at that time I don't think was ill. With that ex-wife, because I think they had different moms, sometimes that ex-wife would, I guess, communicate with some other housewives and share that she was not feeling like she was getting the support from Slade. When the poor boy passed, Gretchen shared a lot of photos that they were with him, that Skylar, their daughter, was with them, and all this stuff. But we would hear oftentimes from housewives, Tamra being one of them, that Slade was not participatory financially or whatnot in this child's life. So I think something might have happened where she was saying that, and then also Tamra being in a hot seat with that situation, but also being in an extremely vulnerable situation that her best friend is fighting for her life, was like, oh my, I can't defend that behavior.
Yeah.
And then also be in this position. And the job, you and I both know, the job of being a housewife is 99% emotional warfare.
Right.
It is, even the women that come off like Teflon women, Ramona and stuff, when I've talked to them now that they're out, are like, I'm so happy I'm out. I'm so like, it is such an emotional thing. So being that she's obviously very close to Teddy, it's not only her probably her best friend, but her business partner with the podcast, but also it's having the moments of like, I don't need this shit. Whatever job you're doing, whether you're an accountant and your mom is dying, and someone's like, really, you're not going to come the day after your mom, you're like whatever, and you're like, fuck you, my mom's dying. I don't need this shit. Like whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so I think that it was just that kind of emotional break, and I wouldn't be surprised if she comes back. Yeah,
I don't think she's actually going to. She's going to take a beat, and then she'll end up filming. She'll probably take a week. Well, we heard this season of Beverly Hills, like Kyle, when she left in the robe, she like didn't film for 2 weeks and then came back. And,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So she had quit the show, and I just think that's probably what's going on with Tamra. I agree with you. I think Teddy's, recent brain tumors are weighing heavily on her. That is her close friend. She works with her very often. And I think it's both things, right? I think Gretchen clearly came to the table with something.
Yeah.
And maybe she has some dirt that she dug up on Tamra and who Tamra was talking to or communicating with or something. Like it's either something like that or it's something about Eddie that she doesn't want out on the show. Because those are the only times housewives get that emotional, as if it's something about the husband.
Feel like, they feel like
they have to protect.
If this gets out there, this could be the end of my business as I know it, or my family as I know it, which is why this job is emotional warfare. And why it is so much harder than anything anyone ever gives them credit for. Yeah. And why she said, Tamra, mental health is also health. Right. And I'm doing this for my mental health. I mean, also, I've heard that in filming, the other cast members, a couple of the cast members were, very sympathetic to what she's going through as far as being Teddy's, very good friend. But some of them never reached out, and some of them have not given, been that like caring, support, or it doesn't seem like they're caring. And so she's probably clocking that. Yeah. And then if one of those people came at her, she was like, you didn't even fucking call me when you knew my best friend was going through this. Like, F off.
Well, I mean, and that's the game, right? Like I think you have moments where you think the friendships are deeper than they actually are, and you realize it's a game of Survivor. We're all just here we're gladiators in the arena, and our job is to entertain the crowd, and they want to see us, come for blood.
Great analogy.
Yeah. So I just think, but I mean, it's also kind of, and it's hard because I really do like Tamra on a personal level outside of the show, but it's hard because it's like she has been one of the ones that has put the women, feet to the fire every time there's been something that she's had to grill them on. So it's interesting that it's almost like her housewives karma just collectively coming back. And
I mean, she was the one that put out the rumor that Kelly Dodd had done a train.
Yeah.
And then made Vicky repeat it when they were in those weird Marie Antoinette outfits. Yeah. And there was no proof to it at all. And just putting it out, oh, well, I heard this. Yeah. And if you go way back to the Gretchen and Tamra shit, Gretchen had some ex-boyfriend that put out salacious photos of her or something. And Tamra put that out in the universe. And that was really where their like thing started.
It's hard because it's like you've had, I mean, every housewife at some point has had their season where they're just getting annihilated. We saw Shannon went through it last season. They brought back Alexis Bellino. So it's really Tamra in the same position
Shannon didn't get annihilated.
Oh, no. The fans ended up turning on Tamra because they ended up embracing
feeling sorry
Shannon.
for her.
Yeah, but I mean, but
thank God.
But
and I always said, thank God
the
cops never that footage never
that body
was
cam
seen.
footage. I know.
We have it of Karen Huger. We have Karen
she's just
Huger's
walking the dog.
Mugshot. The only housewife in history to be arrested whose mugshot we have not seen is Shannon Beador's, which. Hey, good attorneys can be a valuable thing.
But that has to be wild because you know that body cam footage is crazy. She's pretending she was walking Archie, and now we know she had the bloody face.
Yeah.
Could you imagine somebody just walking down the street with their dog and be like, "Oh, it was just my dog had to go to the bathroom."
Yeah,
like who's gonna buy that? But but Shannon did go through it during filming, though. Afterwards, the audience was on Shannon's side, but going through it, having to deal with Alexis, and then having Tamra on her,
and
I feel
handling
like
herself well. She did.
Yeah. And she did the best that she could in that situation, which is kind of what you sign up for. You know that there's always going to be... And Tamra went into the season knowing Gretchen was coming back, knowing that the audience wanted a takedown season of Tamra. Like, she knew all of these things going into it that, you know...
Well, also, I think there's a lot of harshness memories of Gretchen's because there was this friendship bracelet moment where it was like a pink little, like, bracelet that Tamra gives it to her. And I remember this was so long ago, and I was very friendly with Tamra at the time. And we had a show, and we needed guests because it was a guest host. And I said, what about I get these two housewives? And at the time, they were friends now, you know? So I get Tamra and Gretchen on, and it was a great episode, and it was fun, and they did great. And then later on, I have my book party, and I invite them both. And I find out from Heather Dubrow that allegedly, this is what she told me, Tamra was bummed that I invited Gretchen. And I go, but they're good friends now. They did the friendship bracelet and all this stuff. And she's like, and Tamra was like, oh, please. I did that because the audience hated me, and I had to make up with Gretchen. Yeah. And I think Gretchen, being like a woman of God and Christian, she believed. And I think Gretchen from 12 years back is holding the fact that you fake pretended to be my friend. Yeah. Remember, she also at one time opened up to Gretchen and nobody else that she had a suicide attempt back when she was 21. Yeah. And I remember Vicky was like, what are you doing here with Gretchen? We're best friends. You know, it does it. So she was doing all that stuff and making Gretchen feel like she was a real friend. And 10 years later, when you realize that someone was not a real friend, you're not going to get over it. And now you're working with them, you're going to be like, I got your number. And I think that something happened. If anything, she was probably the most prepared coming in because, like, when it was 10 years of prep.
Yeah, well, not only that, but I mean Tamra, because like when the shit hit the fan with Erica, like she couldn't predict that the divorce was going to happen and then the legal stuff was going to happen while they were filming. And Shannon didn't really know that Alexis was going to be so big on the cast last season. Right. She was just kind of creeping back in.
She was banking on that everyone would hate Shannon for the DUI.
Yeah, and so this was the one season that Tamra should have been the most prepared, armor on, ready to go.
Do you think that Tamra will still be a bridesmaid in the Alexis John Jansen wedding?
No.
Do you think she'll even attend?
Probably not. Listen, like you said with the friendship bracelet, like she's so hyper aware of the audience that she knows that that's not a good look. Right. And I don't think she's genuinely that close to them anymore. Especially not after they threw John and Alexis under the bus at the finale or right after the reunion when they all showed up at the house and like, here's what John and Alexis told us at dinners last night.
They did the Fab Force 5 OC edition. Whatever that is.
Yeah. So I don't think that friendship is holding on too strong.
Right. So we'll see. But obviously we all, are thinking about Teddy and her recovery. Yes. Mia of Real Housewives of Potomac spoken a little bit about this show in that she was the one who was separated from her husband, but he was still around Gordon. Her storyline was she didn't know if one of her sons was Gordon's or not.
Yeah.
Turns out it was Gordon's, and the girls all called her BS in using her son as a fake storyline, in that she probably always knew that he was her child's that they were the actual dad. Otherwise, it would have been really fucked to have put that on camera, but it's also fucked just to have played with that.
Yeah.
So they called her on the show, and now she said, after much reflections, I have made the difficult decision to step away from the Real Housewives of Potomac. This journey has been one of incredible blah, blah, blah. As a mother and a businesswoman, I have always prioritized taking care of those that I love. I'm beyond grateful. So a smart one. Also she should know that there's always room to come back.
Yeah.
And there's always room to be on the villain, the traitors.
Yeah.
Whatever. But yeah, if it's like, I can't go back and film with these people because they probably are going to start in about a month. And she's probably just like, I can't do it.
You think this was her choice?
We'll never know. I think probably not. I think whenever you walk off, they want to also make you, and she walked off, she did most of the show, but she walked off probably, with a couple hours left of filming of the reunion. And I think that is a big no-no. It's a big no-no not to show up.
Yeah.
And it's a big no-no to get up and leave.
Yeah.
And they want to make an example so the other women know that you just cannot do that because that's what the show is. It's about holding you to the fire at a reunion.
I mean, I feel like this kind of puts the final nail in the coffin for Potomac, though. I feel like the show really went downhill when we lost Candace and Monique.
Right.
And then now we have Karen. Karen's locked up. She's not filming anymore. She hasn't made her official announcement, but writing's on the wall there.
Or they do the whole pause till she comes out.
Oh, God.
Because she'll be out in a year.
Yeah.
She only has to do a year, and she might get out in 9 months.
Yeah, she'll Jen Shaw it.
Yeah, and I'm sure she will be
lovely.
Jen
Shaw is working that system. She's out next year.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. It's crazy.
100% she'll be coming back to Salt Lake.
I had a prison consultant on my podcast at the time that she was getting ready to go to trial.
You mean like that movie? Remember, do you remember that movie with Will Ferrell? He has to go to a white-collar prison, so he hires a prison consultant.
Yes,
so there's a real thing.
Yes.
And what are the tips?
And so I asked him. So this was when she was headed to trial, and I was like, "What Jen Shaw? I was like, what do you think that she should do? How do you think that she should navigate this to get time reduced or to not get time? Because at this point she was still innocent in her head. And so he gave me this whole list and this is what she do. She should go into a rehab alcohol program and that'll get a year taken off. And he gave me this whole, list of things that she should do. And then ultimately she ended up pleading guilty. But from there, I think she ended up hiring him. And then she ended up doing everything that he said to do on my podcast.
Yeah.
So, and now look at it. She's following all the tips. And now she's getting out early. She's doing Shawmazing Abs with Elizabeth Holmes. They had their Barbie prison pageant. And, she's making the best of it.
I know what I'm going to do when if I ever.
Locked up.
Please, dear God, no. is I would do a little stand-up comedy class.
Oh, that's smart.
I would teach the girls how to get 5 minutes together.
Wow.
And comedy is tragedy plus time.
Yeah.
We all suffered some tragedy. Let's hear what got you in here or your worst relationship. And you work on 5 minutes and we have a little comedy show at the end of it.
Yeah.
And then the guards would be nice to everybody because they're entertained. Yeah. First, I thought I would go in and learn to imitate the guards so that the inmates would think I'm a cool chick.
Yeah.
But then I thought the guards will hate me for that.
You really thought this through. I'm concerned.
Yes. Also, how good will I look with solid gray hair?
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to be able to get my Madison Reed dye job in there.
Well, I don't know. Jen Shaw was doing beauty tips and she was teaching the women how to read and write. Did you read that?
That's nice.
She has her little blog that she does. And so her team will update people on Jen's diary entries. And she was teaching the women how to read and write. And then she was writing the screenplay about housewives in prison.
I mean, I have to say, as a woman, I do feel like female prison, based on which prison you go to, is like a world of difference than if you're a guy.
Yeah.
I just think, 99% of hardened criminals are men. So, and men are just different. So I think it would be way worse to be a guy going to prison than a woman in general.
Yeah.
In general. So, okay. So anyway, people still want to see like Housewives behind bars. But as we move into March, you guys, it's time to shake off the winter. We are into the sun. Let's restore. Let's get this going. And for some of us, it's time to tackle thinning hair and hair loss with iRestore Elite. It's a clinically proven solution designed to help you to regrow hair with 282 lasers and LEDs delivering light therapy directly to your scalp. Think of it as a rejuvenating treatment for your hair. Lightweight, hands-free, and painless. It works while you relax and prepare for the warmer days ahead. No hassle, just real results. I have the iRestore helmet, which is so comfortable. I just plop it on my head, watch the latest Housewives, and know that my hair is getting restored to the glorious state it has always and deserves to be in. Give yourself the gift of hair confidence this spring. For a limited time only, our Juicy Scoopers get $625 off their iRestore Elite when you use code JuicyScoop. At iRestoreLaser.com, that's $625 off your iRestore Elite at iRestoreLaser.com with promo code JuicyScoop. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Hair loss is frustrating. You don't have to fight it alone thanks to iRestore. This episode of Juicy Scoop is brought to you by Booking.com, Booking.yeah. Every time we use Booking.com to find a place to stay in the U.S., I know they will have exactly what I'm looking for. They have a huge variety of options from hotels to vacation rentals, and I'm always able to find something that fits my specific needs. I found that Booking.com has something for everyone. As you know, I love traveling with my kids sometimes, and these guys know how to eat. So I love when there is a breakfast included. We also like to have a walkable area to find the cutest coffee shop or dining. Everybody's looking for something different. Or when it's just Peter and I, it's a more of a romantic getaway, chill. We might not want to leave the hotel at all. They have all of that. No matter who you are, Booking.com helps you find the stay that's ridiculously right for you. Find exactly what you're booking for on Booking.com, Booking.yeah. Okay, let's get into the latest with Blake and Justin. Blake Lively was wearing an odd dress. A lot of people said it looked like a boba tea.
Yeah, the boba tea. I saw that.
Tea. It was kind of a nude brown with black balls on it.
Yeah, it's
and
latex.
Kind of like, it looked kind of 1950s, almost kind of like a Minnie Mouse cartoony.
Yeah.
And she was at South
by Southwest.
Yes, to premiere A Simple Favor 2. And this was kind of an interesting photo because behind where the fans are, she says hi to this woman, and this is coming from, who is this?
Elridge, Elsie.
Okay, sorry.
Hi,
I want to give her props. She noticed that if you were just watching this as a regular person, you just think she's talking to people behind the gates to take photos, headshots, sign something. But this woman is actually Paul Feig's, who is the director of the movie's wife.
Yeah. Which is weird because
why is she behind the thing acting like a fan?
What happened? So Blake walked right out of the car and passed by this little group of fans.
Right.
And so what I think it was is they strategically placed people that they needed to be there so that it could look like people wanted to take selfies and get autographs.
And we're not going to ask her about Justin.
Correct.
Yes.
And they wanted to do that because even Anna Kendrick, people tried to ask her, or Variety tried to ask her about the Blake situation, and that got shut down really quickly.
I want to say really quickly what she said. The clip I saw was she said, I did ayahuasca last year, so I don't remember anything.
Yeah.
We saw recently that Ariana Grande, when asked about her album, said, I went to this clinic that erased my memories, which there is a real clinic like that. And then I, over the weekend, finally watched Blink twice. Did you see Blink twice?
No.
You can watch it on Prime for free. And Zoe Kravitz wrote it, and it's very juicy about this billionaire who has an island and people go on it, and it's kind of Epstein-ish, of based on Me Too and being in the industry is how she wrote the movie. But there is a part where their memories are erased. They can't remember stuff to tell. And so I'm like, it's kind of weird that was a hit movie, and now people are saying this to get out of. I just think it's strange. But okay, so get back to this premiere.
So she got off and she's taking selfies with everybody, and it seems like it was all preset that she was supposed to walk by this one little group of people. Like one of them conveniently happened to be a guy that works at like a domestic violence awareness hotline, and he just happened to be there taking selfies with her, and he's like a big Blake fan. And so
is that the guy in the black and white jacket?
Yes.
So some people are accusing him of being a hired actor, and then another person said, "Hey, just so you know, like." Really dedicated fans will go to every premiere, and you do, as this star, sometimes recognize some of your most dedicated fans at things. So the fact that she was like, "Oh, hi," isn't total BS.
Correct.
Like she really could recognize him from previous things.
Yes, but he was also in the venue, and she was spotted with him a few different times throughout the event. So, which tells me that like they just got a group of people, and they wanted to make sure that she had support, and she had people that wanted to take photos. I mean, but putting the director's wife out there for a selfie is really stupid because she's going to see her backstage anyway.
They're going to be in the VIP section of the party after. Like that was that
was dumb. But so and it's just. It's obvious. I mean, but you know how a lot of these things are. Like, my background is in, celebrity charities. And so we would do that. And we would have the family so that the celeb would walk by and like, oh, here's the family from the grant program.
From the
and
charity.
So that we could get the photo op with the photographer. And then they have the videographer. And surprisingly, that makes it into our end of year campaign. Like, all of these things are also produced and like planned out. That was not by accident.
By the way, I'm just remembering when I first met you. And you worked for Jenny's charity, Jenny McCarthy. And we did a comedy show in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And I saw the lineup. And normally, ego-wise, as a stand-up, you want a headline. You want to go last. That's like a bigger thing.
Yeah, you close the show.
Right. So I saw it. And I saw a couple comedians go, and then there is a portion about what the charity is for, to show the work they've done.
Right.
And it's going to be a tearjerker moment.
Yeah.
Okay? Of good, happy tears, but tears. So I kept that to myself, and I said to whoever it was, it might have been you, I said, now Whitney had to go before me.
Yeah, Whitney coming.
Because she had another gig in San Francisco. So I think I said something, Josh Wolf. Mm-hmm. I said, Josh is just higher energy and a stronger stand-up than I am.
Yeah.
So he should go just after me, meaning after. Because I was supposed to follow the sad video.
Yeah. So at these shows, so we have the comedians, but then there's a sad video in the middle, and then that's where you call the audience to donate. Like, pledge your support, but it's a sad video that's like, it brings down the tone in the room. And so that's where we rely on the comedian to then bring the tone back up.
And so I was number 3. Okay. So it was like 2 people, sad video, 2 people. And I don't know who the final person was, but it was like another guy. And somehow I and I placated the ego. And I'm like, I think it'd be better if it was like the 2 girls and then the 2 guys. Because I'm like, the guys are stronger than us, And so I think it was Whitney who had to go first because she left. Then me, sad video. And then Josh. And so when I said to Josh, because he was supposed to be number 2, I go, oh, they want you to be 3 because you're a stronger stand-up than me. He's like, no. I go, no, I think it'll be better that way that I follow Whitney. And then he realized, and he was like, he did it, and he's like, oh, thanks, Heather. Like, thanks.
Oh, my God.
It still was all great.
Yeah.
He's a professional, brought it back, made something about it. But it's one of those things. Okay, get back to Blake. Okay, so the movie I am excited for because I am a fan of the movie.
Yeah, the trailer looked good, and I like posted it on Instagram, and I was like, I know we don't like her right now, but like the movie actually looks good. And then people were like, Matt, like, oh, now you're turning. And I was like, no, it's a movie. But the wife, what's interesting about the wife, Laura
the director's
wife, is she's been in the comments defending Blake. She's like totally, she's totally Nick Viall.
I can't blame it if that's, you got a movie coming out, you don't want people to hate your star.
Yeah, well, my point being, she in the comments said that like Blake has already been paid, so you're not going to be hurting her by not watching the movie. And so,
interesting.
Yeah. So I was like, well, then at least I know she's not getting royalties, and I feel a little bit better. But she has been the biggest like Blake defender, and even the director came out and said that the rumors about Blake and Anna not liking each other are completely false, which I've heard. I don't know if you've heard anything, but I've heard the complete opposite. I heard that both Blake and Anna Kendrick, I heard that they're both not easy to work with, and they absolutely do not like each other. And they are just not. And that's why you don't see a single photo of Blake and Anna together at this premiere.
Well, I mean, the interviews from before were like a scale of 1 to 10 awkward at a 10.
Yeah.
Like of her being like, okay. But in watching her then get on stage and talk like...
Yeah.
She is the same person that we've seen in the videos.
Yeah.
She does the word salad. She tries to be funny. The audience, she is kind of charming, but she is long-winded like a Dorit.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. And I get why if you worked with someone like that for, 5 months, you'd be annoyed by her.
Yeah.
But also, in her defense, she didn't seem that different when on a red carpet saying hi to people.
Yeah.
She was, hi, I like this. And,
Yeah.
I mean, I think sometimes those videos were picked apart where someone gave her a bracelet. Maybe it was the Tamra friendship bracelet. And she was like, thank you so much. It doesn't match my outfit, but thank you. And then people are like, why wouldn't you put it on? I'm like, okay. Yeah. Like, there's some nitpicking.
Yeah.
And I'm like, please, you're on a red carpet. You're being gracious enough. Like, but okay, since we've talked, since it's been a minute, what else has gone on legal-wise? Just catch us up with what's happening. Is it still looking like March 26th? Do you think it'll happen earlier, the trial?
I mean, I feel like every week it gets worse and worse for her. Legally, because so obviously I think since I was last here, they did SNL, which obviously was a bad look, and I know Bethany came out and she's like, this was brilliant, and I was like, this is stupid.
They went to the SNL thing, and Ryan did that
joke
which
about
then
it,
he wrote the joke.
Yeah, he wrote the joke, and then the cue card guy came out and is like, oh yeah, he had a different joke, and he changed it at the last minute, and then SNL was like, we don't know who this cue card guy is. They said he doesn't work in the creative department. He wasn't in the meetings for writing the joke. Yeah. I'm like, I believe the crew people. Like, cue card Wally is not going to lie about...
But also now, do you imagine, you're trying to get a job as cue card guy, and they're like, we also need to sign that you won't do any podcasts.
Yeah.
Ever and talk about the I'm sure now they're like, oh, I guess we never had the cue card guy sign the NDA. We've had everybody else do it, but yeah.
But so Bethany Frankel said that it was the smartest move, that was brilliant. And I called it from the beginning. I was like, this is going to be used against them. I go, maybe it's brilliant PR-wise because everyone's talking about them and everyone's talking about it's now cute, whatever. But this is going to be used against them legally. And so it was brought up in court that, they're not taking this seriously, and she's doing, red carpets.
You can't be now acting like, oh, isn't this funny and ridiculous, when you started it because you said you were sexually harassed. Yeah. If there was no sexual harassment to it.
Yeah.
And this was just a lawsuit I think that you did an internet smear campaign against me, and I'm going after you for that.
Yeah.
Then at maybe one point you can make light of the ridiculousness of it.
Yeah.
But not when that is also part of your case.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's connected to the movie, which is, about TV. There's so many layers to it that just make any sort of jokes about it inappropriate. And so it was brought up in court. And so, because right now what she's trying to do, her team is fighting Blake Lively's team is fighting to, they want a protective order, but they want an attorney's eyes only protective order, which means anything that gets brought up in discovery can only be reviewed by the attorney. So they can't even share that with Justin, and they're trying to say, oh, well, it's because we have, privileged information, my publicist client list that can't get leaked. And it's you have a celebrity publicist and you don't want her client list to get leaked. And that's kind of saying,
just because you have famous friends, Taylor Swift, they don't get special protective order.
Correct.
Just like the President of the United States doesn't.
Right.
So it's you're not going to get it just because you're a super famous person. If we say we want to see the text messages between you and Taylor, you're going to have to turn those over, or we're going to get them on our own through... Mint Mobile.
Through Mint Mobile. But she's since withdrawn the subpoena. So she doesn't want his phone records anymore, and she's still
saying, I don't want your phone records, but I don't want you to ask for mine?
Correct. That's kind of the latest. She's withdrawn those subpoenas, so she's no longer, or she may be amending it, but she's withdrawn them because the judges basically said that was kind of ridiculous. But we had a hearing last week that was not the strongest case from her side. There are like 5 attorneys representing her, and then Brian Friedman's representing everybody on the Wayfair side. But we'll have to see. The text messages from Taylor Swift are probably going to end up coming. That may be, and Bradley Cooper is probably also going to get dragged into this too. So there are a lot of famous people that may get deposed or have text messages revealed. And so I think if there's going to be a settlement, those conversations are probably happening now so that privileged information doesn't get out. Because the judge doesn't seem like he's protecting her celebrity friends.
So do you think Taylor is going to have to be subpoenaed?
It's possible. It's not looking good. We have to wait to hear what the judge says this week about the protective order, but the judge didn't really seem to be entertained by this celebrity argument. He's kind of just like, listen, if you're going to trial, this is all going to come out in trial anyway, whether you want to prevent it from coming out now or next March. Like, it's coming.
I want to talk to you guys about RHOBH, because RHOBH is therapy. And what I love about it is we all sometimes need therapy. Sometimes it's a real specific thing going on in your life, a career change, a major breakup. And talking to the friends is just not enough. And what I love about RHOBH is that they work with over 10,000 therapists to find the right one for you. And in-network covered care for most major insurances, meaning you can pay as little as $15 per session. True end-to-end care. RHOBH is committed to supporting you and staying with you every step of the way on your mental health journey, from finding the right therapist to helping you schedule appointments and monitoring your process. RHOBH is there to help. Thousands have already trusted RHOBH to support them on their journey towards improved mental health and overall well-being. Head on over to RHOBH.com/JuicyScoop to get started today. After you sign up, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support Juicy Scoop and tell them I sent you. Go to RULA.com/JuicyScoop and take the first step towards better health today. You deserve quality care from someone who cares. I did get a lot of comments because Nick was very team Blake and Ryan. Yeah. And he was on my show on Thursday, Nick Viall. And what are your thoughts about the show? About our conversation about it?
I thought you did a good job. Listen, he doesn't, think that hard about things, but he has 15 podcast co-hosts that do that for him. But he clearly has not read these court documents, as he told you. It's obvious that he is not. It's obvious that even if you put, let's just focus on the sexual harassment, because that's the really serious stuff. One, she's presented zero evidence to support that. And if anything, evidence that has come out has debunked some of her claims already. The clearest one that shot her credibility was when she said that, the producers showed her porn and his naked wife. And then we find out that it was his wife's home birth video and you don't even see anything. She's holding the baby in her arms and he's, they have the newborn baby and she had just given birth. So yeah, technically she's naked, but you don't see any parts. And she described that in her lawsuit as a pornographic image of the wife that was shown to her, which to me is just ridiculous, and so, or when she said that he smelled her and said that she smelled so good, and then we saw the raw footage and the raw footage didn't play out that way. She's like, oh, my spray tan smells, which you've had spray tans. Yes. They have a very distinct smell and you're insecure about it. Yeah. So she's like, oh, my spray tan smells, sorry. And he's like, oh, don't worry, it smells fine, or it smells good. Yeah. And she's like, oh, that's just my body makeup. And it's these things that clearly show that what she's describing and what is being shown in footage and photos are very objective evidence. That's not somebody's opinion. You can see that and it's very clear. So when you have a number of these things that are shooting the credibility, it's not looking good for her. So Nick, I would love to have a conversation with Nick. I know he would never have a conversation with me about this. I would even do it here on Juicy Scoop for you, Heather. Neutral territory. You could be the Andy Cohen.
Well, I didn't really notice until Dave Neal, who analyzed it, was saying how, because I left. I like Nick as a person. Yeah. So I left. Nice dude, and I liked that we were on opposite sides. And I didn't find him some people felt he was they felt he was being disrespectful to me or trying to manipulate my opinion, or he's like, what's the evidence? What's the evidence? And I kept giving him evidence just off the top of my head, not like I'm a lawyer. Yeah. But it still didn't bother me. I still thought it was like done with respect, and I still thought it was interesting. But I mean, the amount of comments I got on YouTube, I have to say, made me wonder slightly. Though I pretty much have the same amount of people watching every episode, so I believe they're real juicy scoopers. I'm not saying they're bots, but if I was to think that, I would go, wow, maybe
the smear campaign.
Maybe Justin's people really are, because the only other time I got a lot was when I had Coco Moco on about 2 months ago. And at that time she was, I don't know where she is now with it, but at that time she was still very Team Blake.
Yeah.
And those are the only times I've gotten like, and not towards me, like not mean towards me.
Right.
Which makes me think I do believe they are my real listeners and watchers that are just, were not happy with what was feeling like, you know, they don't agree with his opinion, which they have every right to comment. But that is sort of interesting. I was
The thing with Nick is and I'm sure he's a nice dude personally. I've never met him. But I just think he's so pompous and arrogant when he throws down his statements. And it's like, well, if you want the evidence, and like, where's your evidence to support anything? I get it. You like Ryan Reynolds.
But
great.
his evidence,
Suck his dick.
His evidence was too that he got a bad vibe.
That's my point.
So that's
he's like,
hard
oh,
evidence.
well, I met Justin Baldoni one time and he meditated in front of us, and like I just got bad juju from that. And I'm like, well, that's hardly groundbreaking, but thank you for that.
Yeah.
You know, that hard hitting evidence. But so I just think with this case specifically, because it's become so popular, and I think people see that the more we really analyze this, the more we see Justin Baldoni really seems to be the underdog in all of this. And so I just think people are wanting to root for him, and they've become so enraged. And I think a lot of it too is it's like there are people that understand harassment in the workplace, and they don't feel like anything that she's described reflects that. And I think it kind of like hurts people that have experienced that genuinely.
I think it was interesting too that Nick said he's got this billionaire, he has more money to go after this. And I'm like, but again, he didn't go after it.
Yeah, he didn't start this.
Yeah. And, you know, and then I read like in the end, if he was really to prevail, they would be like broke because people analyze how much she's made off these movies, whatever. I disagree with that.
Yeah.
I think everyone's going to be fine in the end. But anyway, so.
I just haven't heard one like really good critical argument that's pro Blake that's not just about like feelings over facts, right? Or like, why would she do this if, you know, well, she was trying to save her. I don't think she ever thought it would get this far. And then did you see the article that came out last week about Baldoni? I think it was in the LA Times. They did this whole piece on him, and only to find out the juiciest piece of this like expose that they did on him was that one of the former employees that used to work for him says that his work environment was toxic positivity. Like that's the worst that they've dug up on this dude. And they've been coming after him for months at this point. Like
I remember when I was at Chelsea lately, on the third floor was Ross Matthews' talk show. Yeah. That lasted like a year or something.
Yeah.
And we were on the fourth floor. And they said, people were like, do you know what's going on the third floor? I'm like, what? They're like, Ross meets with his group. And it's like, everybody, we're just going to do an emotional check-in or whatever. And everybody has to say something positive about somebody. And it was the complete opposite of what was going on the fourth floor, though we had a lot of fun. It was a different mindset. And I'm like, oh, so now toxic positivity can be a negative thing?
Yeah.
Like, you just can't win.
No.
But do you think that Taylor and Taylor and Blake will continue their friendship, or do you think she is completely ghosting her?
No. I mean, come on. If one of your friends called you a dragon and said they were the Khaleesi, like, if I were Taylor Swift, I would be pissed. I'd be like, I'm never talking to you again.
Back in the day, people used to go, this was like years ago, there was a Mary Tyler Moore, and it was Mary Tyler Moore had a best friend named Rhoda. So people would be like, I'm the Mary and I'm the Rhoda. No. No. Yeah. I'm the Mary, you're the Rhoda. Or I'm the Lucy, you're the Ethel. No. Like and that's the way, it's the same thing, like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Like,
but it's very obvious who the Lucy is here.
Yeah, you're not the mean girl, and we're the,
No, it's very obvious who the bigger celebrity is, and that would be Taylor Swift. She's not a dragon. I don't even know if I would call her Khaleesi, because doesn't Khaleesi die?
But
like, she doesn't make it.
Yeah. But also, it's like Taylor, she did that whole squad, and she has a weird relationship with girls.
Yeah.
She, the story I once heard about Taylor, which I kind of loved, but she was this girl that I think was perceived as a geek in high school, but had this enormous talent. And because she had confidence and talent, could play instruments, and her mom was supporting that, the girls were like, who does this geek think she is, thinking she's going to be the next singer? And they were extremely cruel. So then she becomes a star. And the story goes, the legend goes, that at one time she invites them all to a show or something, only to show them fuck you. Yeah. Something like that. Straight with I'm in the bleachers and now she's the quarterback's girlfriend, or whatever he is. So I think in collecting these popular friends, what happens to someone in high school can affect you so much for the rest of your life, whether you were the most popular or maybe you were in the middle of the road, but you had one fucked up friendship thing. For me, I have stuff from high school that haunts me to this day. Yeah. And it really shapes, and you carry that forever. Yeah. Which, can make you a more successful person or can really fuck you up forever. So it's I think that she collected all these popular, my squad and this and that. I think Blake was one of the cool girls that she collected that she's easily too. Yeah.
Bring back Gigi Hadid.
Yeah, who cares?
Swap her out. Yeah, nobody's going to notice.
From the squad. Yeah, I'll find some other cool chick. So, all right,
that friendship is done.
Meghan Markle had her show debut. It's on Netflix. I think there's
Megan Sussex.
Megan Sussex, right. Oh, Mindy Kaling in the show. So it is a cooking, gardening, crafting show. It's on Netflix. I watched 2 full episodes. Same. There's 8 or something. She announced it got a second season. However, I read that they already filmed the second season, which they often do in these shows to be budget friendly. And they film it not at her house, down the street at a similar type Montecito house, which I don't blame her for that either. Why would you have cameras and everything if someone's we can do it down the street? But they have her barefoot. Yeah. They have her sitting on the ground. Sometimes, it's supposed to be this imperfect stuff. And, she's getting a lot of hate for it. About her lack of being authentic. And I was a Meghan Markle fan in the beginning. I didn't understand the hate. Yeah. And I was I felt a kingship with her. Yeah. She went to an all-girl Catholic high school in LA. She went to a good university, grew up in LA. Dad was in the business. Yeah. And I was just God, what is this? When she was getting married. Yeah. But since then, I understand the hate. I'm going to explain what the hate is. Yeah. The hate is coming from women because they don't believe that she deserves these opportunities now. Yeah. I think she can act. I think she can learn lines. I think she was good on Suits. I think she could act again. Okay. I think she was a bad podcaster. And I think people were why did she get this big podcast that she dialed in and sucked at? And there are so many other women that do this on YouTube or do it at home that know how to cook and do creative things. And basically she's doing that, acting like she's authentic when she's not. And that's what angers them, is that the show is boring and she's boring and she doesn't deserve this opportunity. Yeah. But I would say in defense of her, of course she's going to take this opportunity. Yeah. And this is an easy-ass show to do. Yeah. This is easier than her traveling through different countries and trying food like Bourdain. This is easier than learning medical dialogue to be an actress in a multicam thing where you have to be there for 12 hours. You literally walk down the street. You're in charge of your own thing. You have some cute friends come on. It's a fucking easy job. Yeah. It's an easy job, and they gave her $100 million and she chose an easy way to make that $100 million. And that is what people are angry about.
Yeah. I mean, I don't blame you. I also just think It's the way she tries to be relatable, and she's just so not relatable that to me, like, makes me roll my. I mean, I do agree with you. Like, you know, there are people that, you know, work really hard to build what they have, and then there are people like Meghan Markle or Nick Viall who kind of just capitalize off of what their agent secures them, like $100 million Netflix deal. But her show is so boring and out of touch when she's just like. But what it is, it's like Gwyneth Paltrow, right? She got a lot of hate. But she owns it. She's like, I'm not like you peasants. Like, I'm a rich bitch, and I've
never made soup out of a can in my life.
Yeah, and I have a J-Dad up my hoo-ha, and I'm going to rock it, right? Yeah. Whereas Meghan Markle is like, oh, I'm wearing Zara pants. And then you see that she's wearing $50 Zara pants with a $1,500 cashmere sweater on top of that I'm just like...
While you're cooking
in all white nudes. Remember when she was in the royal family, and she was just like, oh, I only wore nude colors because I didn't want to, like, overshadow the queen and wear purple because the queen likes purple or whatever. So to me, it's like all of the inconsistencies in her story, and her just like, I'm Jenny from the block. And it's like, you're not Jenny from the block. You're Jennifer Lopez.
Jenny's not Jenny from the block.
Exactly.
Jennifer Lopez, Hilaria Baldwin, and Blake.
Yeah.
They should get together and have a boring off.
Yeah.
And see who could be more inauthentic or more, I don't know. I want to take JLo out of it, honestly, because I do think it could be more interesting. But I think Blake, Hilaria, and Meghan are very similar in that they realize what's happening right now in media, and that's being authentic, and they're not.
No.
And so they go these other, like, you know, cheating ways to try to be barefoot, to talk about, oh, I'm actually not going to make the pretzels. I'm going to put it in another bag. First of all, I've had people, I just had a girlfriend come over to my house because I bought a new house, and she was so sweet, and she did make a beautiful basket for me.
Yeah.
And she's also hosted a party for me after one of my stand-up shows. And she does know how to do this shit.
Yeah.
And I don't. So I appreciate people that like to do all that cute shit.
Yeah.
I don't even know where you buy bags that are not Ziploc. I have no idea. Okay, whatever. I'm not doing
Target,
it. I'm not buying burlap, but I get it, and I think it's cute. And when people have done it for me, I do truly appreciate it. But was I bored by the shows? Yes. But then I was like weirdly fascinated because I was like, oh my God. So then she has a bee maker, Brandon, the bee man.
God, the bee man.
And she's like, I have my own bees. And then she's like, how long does a bee live for? And they're like, 4 weeks. I'm like, well, then you're not a beekeeper, because wouldn't you know?
She also won't touch the fucking bees.
Yeah. And I'm like, first of all, watching that, I'm like, honey should be $85 a jar. Like, I had no idea how fucking hard it is to make honey. This should be a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
A lot more expensive. So the honey, she puts the pretzels, you know, and then she's like, and Daniel, my kids call him Uncle Daniel. No, they don't.
No.
They've never met Daniel.
They don't know him.
You're a gay makeup artist, but you're trying to act like, oh, they call him Uncle Daniel. And I'm like, and then she's like, and I don't know if he's gluten-free or not, or I don't know if he has a nut allergy. I thought he spent the night at your house.
Well, no.
How would you not know that?
What I love about that is she's like, I'm putting together peanut butter pretzels because Daniel's favorite snack is peanut butter. But let me put it in a new bag and then write peanut butter on it just in case he has a nut allergy. And I was like, you just said peanut butter is his favorite snack.
And then I thought there were all these hints to combat the rumors that she treats staff horribly.
Yeah.
Like, oh, remember when you didn't even have an agent and you had to find your own makeup artist and you were so loving towards me? Yes. And then when she's like, hey guys, oh, we're breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah.
Try a berry. I'm giving you, little peasant cameraman, a berry. Also, in this article, or one of the things I read, the staff is 80 people.
Yeah.
80 people on this crew to make a rainbow of fruit. And they contacted the woman who originated the rainbow of fruit platter.
Yeah.
And she knows what to be smart about.
Yeah.
She's like, maybe it was originally my idea. Maybe it wasn't. It's out there. Who cares?
Yeah.
She was classy about it, which is a smart thing to do. Because she's probably like, I don't know, maybe she'll bring me on. You know, like, I'm not going to fucking bash her. So there's all of that. And then these two girlfriends come on. One is an actress, and the other one is some other girl who's pretty. And she's like, we've been through so much. What have you been through? Like, give us some juice. Nothing. Not, oh, remember when we were in New Orleans and, you know, Tamra ran out of the show? No, there was no juice.
No.
There's nothing. And so she's doing that. So then they have their tea party with
nobody.
With Mindy Kaling. I think they met on her podcast.
Yeah.
They probably have the same agent. Mindy was like, fuck yeah, I want to go to Montecito and see this. And then she puts in this weird position where she's like, She's like, my mom loved Taco Bell. And she's like, I don't think people realize that Meghan Markle likes Jack in the Box or whatever it is. And first of all, before she corrected her on the name, you lived in LA. We've all had Jack in the Box and Taco Bell. You're 40, whatever, 3 years old. That's not weird.
Yeah.
It would be different if maybe Prince Harry said, I love Jack in the Box. I grew up eating Jack in the Box when I was and I hid it from the king.
Yeah.
Okay, that's kind of unusual when you have like a full-time chef. No, and then she's like, it's so funny that you say Markle when my name is Sussex. And then she's like, it's my little family, it's Sussex, because we all share the same name, which, by the way,
not true.
Mindy Kaling is, an out single mother.
Yeah.
We don't know who the father of her kids are, but whatever. She doesn't say that there's a present father, okay? Which is great, and her choice, Lala Kent, I love it. But I thought that was a little rude.
Yeah.
To be like, this is our name, and this is our little family. Like, if I would never say that to my friends who are single moms. Something about it was like a little insensitive of who you're talking to.
I think it's because she doesn't even really know Mindy's story. She probably doesn't even know that there's no dad in the picture. Like, it's so, and then that's when she referenced her $50 Zara pants with her $1,500 cashmere.
And I feel like they asked Mindy to ask that.
Yeah.
Like, just make sure that you know that she's down to earth.
Yeah.
And she gives us a berry sometimes. And sometimes I get a bite of the omelet.
Which was so stupid that scene, how they open every episode, she's just like, oh, Mindy's on her way. Let me make her a quick omelet. I hope I have eggs. And then she opens the fridge. She's like, oh, thank God I have eggs. And then she...
But also you have chickens, right? Like you have the chickens, and you have the eggs, and how many eggs it is. And just something I like to do. And I was like, what? And nobody wants dried flowers on everything. But then someone said that's one of her products.
Where's her product?
No, it's going to be a dried flower thing. Like you would sprinkle red pepper. It's going to be like
Who's
you sprinkle.
Who's buying that?
Not me. I think it looks like crap. I don't want dried flowers on my food.
No, I mean.
So I was watching it. You know, I have a lot of guilt as being a working mom. And I'm watching it with Peter, my husband, and I go, I don't know, this sort of makes me sad that like I didn't, make sandwiches with like the crust cut and into stars and stuff like that. And Peter's like, why did you ask your two sons? I mean, neither of them give a shit. And I'm like, oh my God, you're probably right. How would I? And then someone's like, you can't do this when there's actually two kids crawling on you. You can't do all these cute things.
Yeah.
And then she's like, I just think it's really great that, my kids get to see their mom working. They don't get to see you working because you go next door and do it, and then you're back. And then she goes on Drew Barrymore, which was two worlds collide. And Drew's like, I want to talk about, because whenever anybody knows you and Harry, they say you guys are so hot for each other. And I love that because I have not had sex in 9 years. I've not been on a date. Like he always talks about that.
Yeah.
So then Meghan goes, well, we're both so crazy busy. We're so crazy busy. And between getting up at 6:30 before my kids wake up, every mom does, and making them breakfast, every mom does, and getting them off to school. And then the two of us are just doing crazy meetings and calls. But every day we meet for lunch just to have a connect. And every day H and I have lunch together. And I'm like, first of all, I hate that she calls him H. I hate it. And so I was like, I don't know, it really bothered me. And I'm like, I don't know if it's because his mom named him Harry and she's gone and nobody ever called him H, and she just calls him H, and she calls him, it's one thing to maybe call him H in the house, but like you're on a talk show.
Yeah. Why
Why wouldn't you just call him Harry?
Yeah.
But I get it. They have their thing. So I was talking to my son, Drake, who's 22, and I was telling him why it's bothered me. And I go, if you had a girlfriend and she just started calling you D.
That's a little
When
different.
no one's ever called you D.
Yeah.
Would that bother you? And he goes, no. And he goes, but if my girlfriend started calling me Drakey Poo, I think that'd be weird because that's what I call her.
Yeah.
And I go, all right, maybe you're right. Maybe it's not that weird. So I'm saying maybe I can, just like Dave Neal said, I can see both sides. Maybe that's not that weird that she's named him H, but I think it's weird, and to the point where then Drew brings her a photo of when Drew met Princess Diana, and she's holding the stuffed animal or something, giving it to Diana. And it's a black and white photo, and it's cute. And they're like cooking or something. And she's like, I just want to show you. She's so excited. Drew's like, I'm so excited to show you this photo of me and Princess Diana. And she's like, you could tell. She was like, oh, look at your little face. Not, oh, look how beautiful she was. You know what? She loved meeting all children.
Yeah.
I know you were a star, but she was just as lovely when she went to like villages. Yeah. And I love that you have this photo, like something like that. It was like, oh, look how cute your little face is. Yeah, I'll have to share that with H. And it was just like moving on. And I was like, oh my God. And then my other thing in the Drew Barrymore show that drove me crazy is she goes, when I was in college, I was a part-time nanny for 2 Irish Catholic families. And one of the dads said to me, you know what, Meg, when you meet your husband, I hope that he remembers to date you throughout your marriage because that's what I do with my wife. Made up story for a few reasons. Yeah. That's what I'm going to say. As an Irish Catholic person, I like it. I don't like it that the Irish Catholic dad was talking to his 20-year-old nanny about who she might marry. Yeah. That's fucking weird. Yeah. And I don't believe the story. No. And I believe it was a diss to her own dad.
Yeah.
Because she had a dad raising her all through Immaculate Heart, doing all the sets for the plays, paying for Northwestern. And, granted her parents weren't together, but that's just a weird thing. And so I think she heard the story of Date Your Wife.
Yeah.
And wanted to put it in a context and an origin. Like, while I was a working college student, I had other father figures that said this to me. I don't believe that story. And Drew was like, I don't think she believed it either.
No, and I think there's a lot of those stories that she gives. Well, I heard that the reason she calls him H is because when she first started dating him, it was something to do with like his anonymity, and that would be like his secret name is H, so that nobody knew he was Prince Harry.
Well, now you know what? That kind of makes more sense now. I'm gonna give her the break on the H thing.
No, but it's one thing to call him H privately, but when you're publicly doing interviews, that's what's annoying.
I'm saying,
it's like nobody knows him as H. He's Prince Harry, or you can call him by his name out of respect for your husband when you're speaking about him publicly.
And the woman who named him. Yeah. And yes. So I also heard in a weird interview, and don't know if this is true, that when they were dating, now she said, I never even heard of the Royals, whatever. Yeah. But then college students said, oh, she had all the books and loved the stories of Diana, which many of us did. Yeah. We all loved Diana growing up. And that she wore her perfume on the first date. The perfume that she would always wear.
I think I heard this
But then when I was reading the comments, no one knew the perfume. So I'm like, this could be a BS story. What is the perfume? Is it, Carolina Herrera? What is it? Like, I don't know. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And so good for her for getting another show. I'm thinking if they've already filmed next season, it probably won't be a change. But if they hadn't, I would be like, change it up, have someone bring in their favorite recipe and you try to make it or whatever. But she's such a control freak that I don't think that would really work. And I think that she is very, like, the other thing that I think is that she talks to everybody like they're, like she should be a preschool teacher. Yeah. She talks to everybody like they're a preschooler and like, okay, but you know what would be better if you cut it like this and da-da-da. And I think she was with that H. Yeah. And I think with H, she gently, will take his hand and show him what to do. And you've seen that in interviews where when she made fun of the curtsy and he was horrified. There's things like that where he's just I think they are in love. Yeah. I don't, I think they are in love, but I think it's a unique relationship.
Well, he has mommy issues, and she works that out for him. She parents him and tells him what to do and controls that relationship, and she loves having the control, and he loves being told what to do. It's so obvious that it's, he lacked a mother figure, and she fills that role for him, which is why she constantly compares herself to Diana, so that she reminds him, I'm just like your mom, and she keeps him under that spell.
And also that story about the Irish Catholic dads giving her, marriage advice. She was married before.
Yeah.
She was married before to a whole person.
Yeah.
Did she date that guy?
Who she was still married to when she met H.
Did they have lunch every day? Did they? And then, but like every story is so boring when she's like, what's funny is when I got Suits, I thought I was filmed in Toronto. And then, so I spent some time in Toronto, and then it got picked up for next season. And then I was in Toronto again. And it was so funny because I was like, am I living in Toronto now? There's nothing funny about that. No. Like, I don't think I've met a least funny person. Like, has she ever told like in a remotely funny story? Like, I think she's smart. I don't think she's a mean person. I just think she's an odd bird that has created false origin stories and things like a lot of stars have, Jay Shetty and whatnot, and then they believe it. Yeah. And I think he does love her, and I think he definitely doesn't want to ever break up his family or anything. But I don't think that they're not. What are these big meetings? After this deal is done, there are no other deals in the works. So what big thing? You remember when Harry his Netflix ideas? Yeah. His podcast ideas.
Yeah, he wanted to interview Putin and like have these sit down
and say, why are you a sociopath or a psychopath and I'm not? That's what I was like. You're a psychopath and I'm not. Come sit down with. I just saw a commercial, but I never know what is real anymore if it's on like TikTok. Yeah, and it's hinting that King Charles is going to have a podcast. Have you heard this?
No. What? Why?
What not?
I mean,
he's going to talk about everything.
At home with me and Camilla.
Yeah, it's going to be everything from, I'm sure, politics, charities to housewives. I don't know.
Oh, sounds like the Viall files.
Yes. So then the dad spoke up, and Meghan's daddy said, I know when she's faking it for the camera. She's trying so hard to be perfect that she tenses up every time the camera's on her. I think it's weird that he still is talking negative about her. I mean, he knows he's never going to meet the kids.
I mean, that's probably why he's bitter about it.
He's bitter, and I'm guessing he is getting a little bit of money every time he talks to somebody. Yeah. Like $5,000 or something just to give a quote. Yeah. Because otherwise, why would you at this point? Because it's not getting you anywhere. You're not getting your own cooking show.
It's so interesting that you don't have.
We haven't heard from the sister.
Yeah, similar. Well, she had her book, but I feel like it's very similar to Blake Lively. Like, right? Yeah. Nobody from their past is coming out with nice things to say, right? Yeah. Nobody has any nice, fun stories with them. Even Mindy Kaling, she was promoting her new Kate Hudson show on Netflix, and she's just like, I'm here to talk about my Kate Hudson show, not about Meghan Markle. Right. And so she wants to be removed from the narrative, and it's so interesting that the only people that we do have that are willing to speak out about her are her own family that she's discarded, her sister and her dad, and they have nothing nice to say about her. Like, when was the last time you heard one of Serena Williams? Why wasn't she on the Meghan show? Because she was.
What about all those people that went to the wedding
and the bridal shower, the baby shower?
Yeah,
remember she had that shower in New York with all the celebrities?
Yeah, where are they? Yeah, they're
and with, none of them showed up.
They're with Taylor Swift not answering the calls. Yeah, and then what about candle making? I'm what fourth grade field trip at the San Fernando Mission am I fucking on right now? Because this is like something I'm like my worst.
And it was the wax from the bees. She's like, let me recycle the bee wax.
As someone who doesn't cook, I actually love watching like cooking shit. Yeah. And I keep thinking like I'll do it. And this happened over the weekend. James Kennedy came out and he performed for the first time in a while since his arrest and dismissal of domestic violence and of Vanderpump Rules. And he took a photo with the Tate brothers, who are both very problematic, awful. I don't even want to get into it. So he took a photo with them, and then what happened?
So he took the photo, he posted it, he said, that's a Bitcoin, which was obviously a reference to when Raquel gave him the ring back at the reunion a couple seasons ago. And then I guess there was so much backlash and people are like, oh my gosh, because, the Tate brothers are very controversial. So then he issued a statement and he's just like, oh, sorry, I didn't know who they were. I just thought they were like podcasters. And everyone was like, what? Like, how do you not know who they are? So then one of the brothers, so I guess it's Andrew and the other brother is Tristan Tate.
I kind of believe that he might not know who they are. I kind of do.
Okay,
after a show.
I don't know who they are, and I even know not to take a selfie with them and post it on Instagram. Yeah, I know enough about them.
I understand how sometimes you have to take a photo with someone, but you don't have to post or repost.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he did that, and then he issued a statement. He's like, I did my research, and I condone their behavior, like the whole PR talk. And then the Tate brother came out and he's just like, that's bullshit. He sat with us and talked to us for 30 minutes. He called us heroes and he, you know, very much knew who we were. So for him to have to educate himself on who we are, like he didn't just think we were a podcast host that was a fan of Vanderpump Rules, which is what he said in his statement. I just thought they were Vanderpump Rules fans and I wanted to take a photo with that. Like, bullshit. Again, even I didn't even know that the second Andrew Tate brother had a name. So the fact that I know enough about them to not want to take a selfie with them and post about it because that's obviously going to set the internet on fire, and I'm very good at doing that already. And this is one move I would not make. He knew better than this. And you know, right now he's crying to Lisa. Oh, Lisa, and he's like, you know, because he's so stupid. Especially
James, you can't be taking photos with people that are problematic, and you gotta ask. Just get your turntables and shut the fuck up.
Well, especially because, like you said, the charges were dismissed against him.
So lucky.
Yeah, and he has his gig back. Everybody forgot. Like, everybody was moving on at this point.
Stop stepping in shit.
And this is the one thing he decides to do. And it's like, oh, my God.
Speaking of which, The Valley is coming back for the second season. And Jax did an interview with Alex Baskin, and he talked about his addiction.
So brave.
And Brittany went on her podcast, which she used to do with him.
Yeah.
Now she's got control of it. And I listened to it. Kristen Doty was with her, also cast on The Valley. And it was great. She was like, there are 31 lies I counted that I have written down in the Alex Baskin podcast, but I'm only going to mention a few. And basically, you know, he has partied and then come home and yelled at her and been hungover and verbally abused her for years, has not been very difficult to co-parent with. And we are going to see it all on The Valley. And she believes that's why he wanted to jump ahead of it, which is what I said. Do this interview. Let people know that he's like, I have had an addiction with cocaine and alcohol on and off for 20 years. I am sober now 100 days. And so anything you're going to see on this show, just know that that's not who I am.
Yeah.
And she's like, it still is who he is.
Yeah.
As far as she doesn't know, she's not talking on his sobriety, but just difficulty dealing with him is still there. And I just think it's great that I think this is a great show. And I think it is great that this is her livelihood.
Yeah.
She is showing it. And I think it will be very helpful for young parents to see what it's like, her struggling with her, you know, being a single parent with a child that needs special appointments and things like that.
Yeah.
And then also dealing with an ex when your child has all these extra appointments. So it's already hard enough to deal with an ex when it's just, then you throw in narcissism, ego, 20 years on a reality TV show, recovering alcoholic, TV fame, and a toddler, like all of it, and dating other people is, you know, is going to be interesting to watch for sure.
I agree. And I think that this adds like a more compelling layer to the show. Whereas last season it was we're all couples and we're just working with our babies and we exchanged bottle service for baby bottles. Yeah. But like this adds like a real layer of like what it's like raising a family in the Valley and having an ex that you have to deal with. And especially in the Valley, like, I mean, cokeheads are a dime a dozen. And I love how Alex Baskin in the interview that he's like, I just want to be, and we had no idea. I was like, the viewers knew. You're going to tell me none of the producers knew that Jax had an issue with substance abuse?
Brittany said, not until she called the producers, the PR person, and his sister, and said, y'all better do something about this.
Yeah.
And so she said, not until she believes Jack felt his career, his job was in jeopardy, did he then go back to the rehab, because he went the first time and left after 17 days.
Yeah.
Then he went back this next time, which seems to have been successful according to him. And, you know, and when I said I had Lala on and she attested to Brittany fucking like tears in her eyes, proud of her friend and what she's been through, and said, I can attest that, you know, Jax isn't there and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I cut a little clip of that, put it out.
Yeah.
And I got the text messages, like Kristen Doty goes, I know I'm going to get these text messages. And I go, okay, I'm taking it down, Jax, because I thought in my being 20 years older than these people, and I have many of friends who have gotten divorced and many of friends who've had to co-parent with assholes, I was like, oh shit, is this video gonna spark him fighting with her?
Yeah.
And I don't want to ever cause more pain for her.
Right.
But in turn, she DM'd me or texted me and was like, I'm so sorry that he's not telling the truth and I'm fine and this isn't true and da-da-da. And so it's kind of great that he went on the podcast so that she could now she's like, now I'm free.
Yeah.
Now I'm free to say whatever. Because for all this time, and in the first season, he kept making it look like she was a boozer.
Yeah. And she had the problem.
That she was a boozer, and him being like, you're sick, you're out here. Now she's like, I don't have stomach issues anymore. I'm not sick, because she was a bag of nerves.
Yeah.
Because she had a home and a business, and their business is being a couple. They have a small child. She did love him. She is that traditional girl. So it really took her the strength to leave.
Yeah.
Which is also something that I hate it when someone's like, you knew who you were marrying. Why didn't you? I'm like, just shut up. Like, just watch it and support and be grateful that she's sharing her journey.
Yeah.
For to maybe help you see something or try to fix it before it gets to the point of that, It was good.
I agree. And listen, one thing about the Vanderpump people, I mean, I guess with now exception for Ariana, which piggybacking off the James Kennedy thing, I heard she unfollowed him because, she does everything for the audience. But so
She unfollowed James?
Yeah. Because she doesn't want to be associated
right,
with
and James was a big cheerleader for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still, it's so all of these cast members, like I think because they lived their 20s, or I guess they were 30, but they lived their 30s so openly and when they had nothing, that's all they know how to do is live their life in front of the cameras in that way, that it just like watching the Brittany and Jax of it all this season is going to be really interesting, and I don't think they hold anything back. No,
I mean, I heard it great. And then what was funny is someone sent me that some of these sites, which I said, don't believe everything you see on the internet, put me as a cast member in the Valley. Because this thirst bucket, I guess, went to too many Vanderpump Valley shows.
Were you not at Ocean's Party over the weekend?
No, I was not at Ocean's Party.
Were you invited to Ocean's Party over the weekend?
No, I was not. I talked to Lala about it, and because I go, I've been to Ocean's Parties, and she goes, this next one is just going to be like, I go, don't even worry about it.
Yeah.
I had a very busy weekend. I'm moving into this new house, and it's been taking so long to figure out TVs and stuff. And then what popped into my mind was when I interviewed Caitlyn Jenner, and when Caitlyn and Kris broke up before she came out as Caitlyn, she was very complimentary to Kris Jenner. And she said, when we decided that, I found this place, and within 24 hours, Kris had her team come. Every TV worked. Every remote worked. It was all furnished. There was food in the fridge. And I'm like, God, I want Kris Jenner as an ex-wife. Yeah. I was like, can I have a Kris Jenner just come move me in?
Yeah.
I talked about there's a scene from Betty Broderick. There was a scene in that movie where she moves in all in one day and the husband comes home and she's like, we're all moved in and there's a pot roast. I'm like, oh my God, I wish that. But no, I did not. So, okay, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Mm-hmm. What are you thinking about this season?
It's fine. It's had moments. I don't know. I mean, it's the only house. I feel like they've all been pretty bad lately, but it's fine. We have a lot of Sutton this season that I don't really need. We have a lot of
Sutton. This is the lineup for the reunion. So it's Kyle and Dorit, which I think is good.
Yeah.
And then Sutton and Bose. I guess Bose needs to be next to Dorit. Then Garcelle and Erica. I love Erica. I think she's coming off great, but she doesn't have much of her own drama, so that's fine. Jennifer Tilly and Kathy.
Yeah.
You're right, it's kind of boring. So do you think that what about when Lisa Rinna is like, people say it's like the fucking Titanic? I was like, no, it's not. And then I was like,
I think Housewives overall is like the Titanic, and Beverly Hills is like the part of the Titanic that hasn't gone under yet.
They're holding on. They're holding on the top.
They haven't hit the water yet, but it is like the Titanic. The ship is sinking. I don't know, as much as I love Bravo, I don't know how much longevity they have. How long is Andy Cohen going to be able to carry this on his back?
Well, okay, speaking of which, here's a little rumor I heard last week. And then you and I hear rumors. And we've done this a few times where I'm like, have you heard about this? And you're like, I don't know. Is it this? Yes, it is. Can we talk? No, we gotta. So I heard a rumor, not a lot of details to this rumor, that come April, there is going to be some announcement that Andy will be stepping down. I don't know if that means immediately in April or like in the next year, there'll be a transition and we're just letting you people know. I don't know if that means he'll only do the reunion, but not watch what happens live. Or if it'll just mean I'm just doing the radio show and I'm leaving all this behind and I'm going to do a talk show in the morning. I don't know. But I would say this. If it's because he thinks there's greener grass doing a brand new show, I'm going to say, Andy, do not leave. And bravo, Peacock, don't let him go. Because nobody wants him replaced. Nobody wants to see some young buck girl or guy replace him on Watch What Happens Live. And I would say, if the idea is, oh, but his kids are growing older, he wants to spend more time with them, I disagree as a working mom doing a weekly show, and I was not the host, so I did not have the freedom you have. It is not a hard job, and you could tape it earlier in the day, and you could tape it 4 shows in 2 days or whatever it is.
Kind of like what he does now, no?
Yes, you could do all that, and then you could change the times if you want. You could do it at noon. It wouldn't fucking matter. And it doesn't matter that it's called live. It doesn't have to be live. It never is live. And that's what I would say. And the only reason I would think that this is going to happen is A, he didn't think it through. Okay, so maybe he can change his mind. Or there's something that between him and the powers that be have agreed to this because there's some disgruntled somebody that has been shushed in return of him leaving, which these are just my thoughts based on a very light rumor that I have heard.
But and I heard the same. We had heard it, and when we had talked
last
week. And I mean, my understanding was the announcement is coming in April, but we don't know what. And all I got was he's stepping down, but I didn't get follow up details as to what stepping down.
And it could be 100% rumor lie that someone started. Like it doesn't. There's not a lot to it.
I will say it does. The person that I heard it from, I don't believe would make this up, but maybe the information they got wasn't
totally true either.
Correct.
Yes.
So. But I mean, maybe it's going to be like, this is the final season of Watch What Happens Live. Because like, or maybe, I mean, it could even be like, maybe they're going to move Watch What Happens Live to Peacock and like try to reinvent it, you know, the same way Chelsea left E to go to Netflix, like do some sort of, I don't know.
I also heard there's big announcements as far as in April being some new shows and some goodbye. Like, you know, like I've heard there's a spinoff for Teresa. Like with her family. And is that true? People have said, oh, I've noticed a lot of different housewives have been coming to LA for meetings. So is there another version of Ultimate Girls Trip, maybe a whole new formula that they're trying to do? Or is there going to be another episode of their Love Island with 4 single housewives? That's supposed to be coming out. I don't know. Like more like one-off shows where they utilize all of them.
Smart to utilize their legacy talent as they try to figure out what new shows they really want to build up, like The Valley. I hope they don't do another. Remember when they did that talk show with Brandi Glanville and like who was on it? Giselle Bryant was on it.
It wasn't Brandi. It was Kate Chastain.
Brandi wanted to be on it. It was Hannah, Kate Chastain.
Yeah. And there was a COVID thing, and it was just kind of a disaster. But it was cheap. But also, Watch What Happens Live, in my opinion, is not an expensive show.
No.
What makes an expensive show is having a real live audience of like 180 people. They don't have that, so that keeps the cost down. It's not a ton of producers. Oftentimes, they don't have to pay for someone to fly out. They've got a lot of people in New York to fill it. They have all these big stars that want to come on now that didn't want to come on 5 years ago. Like... I don't think the show, even if the show dipped a little, they're not going to, why would get rid of the show?
There's no reason to get rid of the show.
Unless he really is burnt on it, which I would say, get unburnt. Get unburnt, Andy. Don't make a mistake of someone I know that made a mistake and left a very easy show thinking that it would be, that it would just keep on coming. Like, you can also have guest hosts.
Yeah.
You could have guest hosts for a couple weeks while you
That's
leave.
fun.
Just don't give up that anchor because you could do this till you're 75.
It's easy. I mean, look at Dick Clark did, New Year's Rockin' Eve until he rocked it to the grave. That, like, Andy can totally do that.
I mean, God, you've only had me on your show twice in 15 years, and I'm still trying to save your ass. I don't know why I don't get more respect in the Bravo world, but clearly I don't. Anyway, that's what I think.
Yeah.
Are they gay or not? It's a lifelong question. Kyle and Morgan. And will we ever find out? I have given my opinion about 8,000 times, and it has occasionally changed. What is yours?
Have you heard anything? I've heard that they are together.
I've never heard anything definitive.
I've heard
actually, I have heard that they are.
Yeah. I've heard that they are together. But I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't understand the point of keeping it secret. Like, the only reason people are interested is because we don't have an answer. And that's the only reason there's still interest.
What about this? What about taking Sutton's side is that she's not jealous of Mauricio being with anybody, that the reason they get along so well is that they have a good understanding that this open marriage has been like this for a while, and she's got her girlfriend and he's got whoever, and they're playing up the sadness and everything for a storyline, hence why they're not getting divorced, and hence why nothing definitive has happened, because it's not necessary.
I could also see them playing it up for their daughters. Like, they don't want their kids to know that they fool around and aren't,
Good point.
loyal to each other. And that's why they have these moments with the daughters, and it feels real because it probably is real, and they have to keep up the facade for the kids.
Yeah.
Like, they don't want Portia to be like, yeah, my mom's now a lesbian and my dad bangs 19-year-old TikTokers.
Right.
Like, it's embarrassing to them. That I would understand why they would keep that guys up. Because even Kathy was kind of, when in this week's episode of the show, she's like, we've heard the rumors for a long time. Like, she was really dragging Mauricio.
Well, she fucking hates him because
she hates him.
Because when he was selling, leisure suits or whatever, and Kyle left her Arabian Prince husband and was single and met him at the Gate nightclub. And they were living in a 2-bedroom apartment with little Farrah and the new baby. And she's like, why don't you guys get your real estate license? And he worked for Hilton and Highland. And I'm sure they handed him listings just like we see the tiny twins give to the little Barbie girls. And then, but then the opportunity came because of Housewives.
Yeah.
And they said, do you want to be the face of this agency? A lot of people think that he owns the agency.
Right.
He is the CEO and the face of it.
Yeah.
And maybe he has a stake in some of the franchises, but it's a franchise, like McDonald's, And so they can pop up offices. I could, if I had my broker's license, I could open an agency.
Yeah.
Like, it's so. I think it still is a sore spot for Kathy.
Yeah.
And also her knowing that he wasn't that great of a husband.
Yeah.
And I think it's pretty clear that Rick has been a very loyal husband. There's never been one fucking story about them.
Yeah.
So it's like.
Or did they just have enough money to pay him off? Like she said, because Mauricio's not in a position to pay anybody off.
I think, yeah.
Like, how big are those settlements?
I think Kathy and Rick really are that couple that just have their understanding and their life at the Cheesecake Factory. Yeah. And he thinks she is a hoot.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I met him, he's like, my wife, Kathy, she does impressions. And, you got to see her. Like, they're good. And now we don't see him a lot because she probably knows, I don't want him being picked apart.
Yeah.
He's an older man now, and he's been such like a delight.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to expose him. It's not going to, you want me, you can have me, talk about potatoes and screw up. Like, that fashion show thing was so fake.
Yeah.
Like, but it's funny, though, because she was like, I know she thought in her head, wouldn't it be funny if I said, why don't you have Dorit, your arch enemy, go try to MC the thing? And it was weird. I don't know that she meant to walk out right before the show, but she obviously went to go fluster and piss off Sutton.
Yeah.
And
which, Sutton did something to her that week that she decided she was going to get her feathers all in a ruffle.
Or she's just like, if I'm going to show up, I'm going to be featured.
Yeah.
So whatever it is, I'm going to say hunky-dory. I'm going to say a weird thing. But if I'm going to get my makeup person over here and I'm going to film, it's going to be
at Sutton's fashion show.
It's going to be a worth it moment, and that's what's great about her.
Yeah, I mean, and
like she brings it.
Dorit called it out, and Erica called it out. They're just like, she's not dumb. Like she's smart and she knows what she's doing. And I agree. I mean, I do think that when the fashion show started, like she really was kind of caught off guard. That I don't think she was expecting the show to start as quickly. But her ruffling Sutton's feathers, walking up through the middle, like you could walk around the back. Like she strutted right through that. Like she knew exactly what she was doing there.
Yeah, like she's like, why are you identifying as like an elderly dementia patient when you're not? Like, I don't get it, but whatever. You look good.
People love it.
This has been. What do we think they're really going to divorce Dorit and PK? What do you think's happening?
I think he's over her. I don't think he wants anything to do with her 100%.
Anymore. It's done.
Yeah, and I think that's why Kyle and him are probably so close, is they realize she has changed since the show started, and she's a completely different person, and she's probably blowing things up with his drinking. Like, that's an example of what you don't do. Like with Brittany's doing, where she kept Jax's stuff concealed until finally she let him do it, and then she blasted it all.
Right.
That's one way to go. Dorit, I don't know.
Yeah, I think they're done too. I love always having you on. Thank you for being such a delight as always. Tell everybody where they can get more of you.
All over the internet, Zack Peter. No Filter with Zack Peter, the podcast.
All over the World Wide Web.
Just type in the name. You find me everywhere. I'm an international lifestyle brand, like Sonia Morgan. Coming out with the toaster oven soon. Meghan Markle style. Zack Peter. No Filter with Zack Peter's the podcast. Streams Monday through Friday mornings.
Yes. And thank you for bringing it. You're always so fun to talk to. Love you.
Thank you.